So, welcome everybody to Chassidus from Misnagdim. I want to start as I always do, thanking the very worthy organization, TorahAnytime.com, for making the shiur available to those who can't come in person. For those who would like to join us in person, every Thursday night, the Mitzvah Hashem, 9:15 at Kongsford, 1575 Coney Island Avenue. I want to dedicate the schus of the Limud HaTorah tonight to the Refuah Shlema of Maran Rav Yoshev. Anyone remember his name? Yosef ben? Yosef Shalom ben? Chaim Moshe. Refuah Shlema. Okay, we're learning here tonight a shtickle from a sefer called Sidurei Shel Shabbos. Let me tell you a little bit about the author. Let me tell you a little bit about why I chose it for tonight. The author is known as Reb Chaim Chanevitzer. He was a Talmud in Chassidus, anywhere from Michal Zlotchever. He was a guy in learning besides. His two most famous chiburim, although he wrote many more, are this sefer that we're learning now, the Sidurei Shel Shabbos. You'll get the flavor of the sefer from the passage that we do tonight. And the Ber Mayim Chaim, which is a Pirush on Chumash, concentrating a lot on Rashi, like the Guraya, like the Levush do. And Reb Chaim Chanevitzer was only 45 years old when he was nifter, but he had a very prolific life. Like I said, he was one of the greatest mechabrim, and it's the kind of a sefer. It's like, you know how there are certain tzaddikim that transcend their particular time, place, the makubal, al kol hakraisen. Right? Everybody loves the Chavetz Chaim, and everybody loved the Shlomo Zalman Auerbach and the Ben Ish Chai. Every Chassidus has their svarim that they concentrate on, their unique svarim. Ber Mayim Chaim is like international, unparteiish. It transcends. People learn Ber Mayim Chaim, people learn Sidurei Shel Shabbos from Kloisenberg to Ger, all the different Chassidish groups. Okay. I chose this piece. Are we good or not? Okay. I chose this piece for several reasons. Shabbos, obvious. Aseres HaDibros in this week's parsha. But also, in this week's parsha, the prelude to Aseres HaDibros is the Asher Bacha Banu. You can't make Asher Nosel on Astarase before the Asher Bacha Banu Mikol Hamim. I once heard from Rabbi Dovid Zal Gesundsein that the number one challenge to American Jewry, and he knows the Smetana, he knows Flatbush and Borough Park and Williamsburg very well, and he knows the hinterlands. He goes to the Dallas Kyle all the time. He's got a son who's the Rosh Kyle in Seattle, Washington. He knows the out-of-town communities very well as well. So the number one challenge is the concept of Havdalah ben Yisrael Amen. Because for the out-of-town communities, they're just quite literally challenged with it. It's a hard concept for them to swallow. What do you mean? You know, Martin Luther King's dream. We live in a society where men are judged by the content of their character, not by the accident of their birth. And he says, Weiter, in the Frumger communities, they seem to think that the only way to accentuate Kedushas Yisrael is to make behemoths out of the Goyim, which is not the point either, as we shall soon see. Okay. So, this shtickle is going to talk very much about the concept of Havdalah ben Yisrael Amim. It's going to talk about, obviously, Kedusha Shabbos. It's going to talk about the Mun, if we get that far, which was last week's parsha. It's chock full of things that have to do with the times we're living in right now. In terms of the general theme of this series, Chassidus from Misnagdim, you're going to see some very, and again, universal, not particular, not what separates Ger from Belz from Lubavitch, but just pan-Chassidish values of passion and Yiddishkeit, of seeing Kedusha everywhere, of understanding that there's a ruchniistic teichen to everything that we come into contact with. And finally, the last segue, and I think mechabrim like this do these things b'kavana. We just had Chamisha Asa B'Shvat. We just had Rosh Hashanah Lilanis. You know, Sifrei Torah literature gets split up. Can somebody give him a hand out, please? A lot of different ways. Yeah, there are prakim and psukim. There are seifim and seif cottons. Okay, there are a lot of different ways to split up Torah. Look at what this mechaber does. Look at the top of the page, the top line of the page. Shirish Hay, root number 5, Anaf Aleph, first branch. Alay Aleph, first leaf. It's all organic. It's all botanic. Okay? And the limit over here is Mistama. I don't know. I'm overreaching over here. Probably has to do with the earlier Sefer Kabbalah that were called Eitz Chaim, and stuff like that. But the idea is, as Marashiva Zatzal Rav Hutner used to say, a mechanech and Torah should never view himself as a builder, but as a planter. A builder builds the building. It could be a magnificent edifice. It could be award-winning architecture. But once the cleanup crews come in, you're done with it. It's complete. But a planter, it grows, and it brings forth Paris, and it never stops growing. That's the way the Messiah of Torah has to go. Messiah has to go with an Indian of Natiyah, of that you're planting something. You're planting something that's going to be self-perpetuating and never stop growing. And again, I just think with the Rosh Hashanah Lilonis this last week, it's very apropos to be learning the Sefer. And it's so geschmack to shlichel, I'm warning you, that I made the part for my custom, and if we don't finish it tonight, I think I want to continue next week, but even if we do, I think I want to be mamshech a little bit weiter. And do this for Reb Chaim Chernovitzer, who was a Talmud of Reb Michal Zlotchever. Okay, he's also the author. The more famous of his works is Ber Mayim Chaim. If you ever heard of the Sefer Ber Mayim Chaim, it's another work by the same author. Okay, I want to start from his Akdama on the top, the smaller font. I'm going to explain what it means when it says that the Eibishter separated us from the nations of the world. V'hu, ki af b'dvarim shemuchrachim anachnu la'asos k'maisa umas, even things that we must do in consistence with the rest of mankind. There are a lot of things that we do differently, but there are other things that the common denominator is. All of humanity does this. Eating, drinking, other physical lusts and needs of the body, bodily needs, which we're forced to attend to. Afal pikein, even so, there's got to be an application of the cognitive function called das to separate the way we do it from the way they do it. Until you make room for God in what you're doing, you shouldn't do it. It's not just to address a physical need, to quench a physical thirst, like behemoths, like other human beings. It means it's impossible for him not to do it, but I'm not mechaven for the hana of it. I mean, he's being cutesy over it, alluding to different things in Hilchos Shabbos. To explain to you what your hisnagus should be when you eat. Your plain bread should be like the show bread in the base of Migdash. There's going to be 20 leaves on this branch. Okay. Let's skip a few lines down. You see from where Alay Aleph starts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 lines down. In the middle of the line, there's some Rashi skipped. Shara Kinuyim B'Kinui Shabbos. Everybody have it? Okay. He was talking about in the previous, I'm not going to call it a parak, in the previous Shirish, he was talking about what Leil Shabbos and Sudas Leil Shabbos is all about. Now he's already holding by Shabbos morning, so to speak. Lochein, Aleinu l'shabeach u'lefoyer la'ater, ze'er tifara. We've got to crown Hashem, we've got to praise Hashem with this tiara of splendor. B'nayim zmiris v'shivchei Shabbos, with beautiful zmiris and the shlachim of Shabbos, yaisu ma'isachal, b'kiflei kiflaim. First of all, there's a quantitative difference from the way we conduct the Suda on Shabbos and what we daven on Shabbos. Okay? Psukah de Zimra on Shabbos is supersized. Right? Many more kapitel of Tillim, sign nusach Ashna, sign nusach Svad, many more kapitel of Tillim that we say on a Psukah de Zimra of Shabbos than on a Psukah de Zimra of Chal. There's miras that we say by the Suda. Paitanim, Gedayla Paitanim, a lot of them were Bali Ruach HaKadosh, who are Mechaber Zmiris. Generally speaking, if it's not a Simcha, people don't sing Zmiris by the Sudas. So there's all kinds, both in davening and in our Sudas, just quantitatively speaking, That's one difference between Shabbos and Chol. There's more going on in terms of Shiras and Tishbachas to the Eibishter on Shabbos and on Chol. Excuse me. The Yitzuma Shel Yom Gaira Mata. Okay, Yitzuma Shel Yom is a nusach that he's borrowing from Yom Kippur. Chazal say, the Rambam, Rishonim bring it. Yeah, the Yitzuma Shel Yom Mechaper Lashon Rambam Imat Tshuva. Yeah, the very essence of the day brings about a kapara. Yeah. So now he's talking about Kedusha Shabbos. Yitzuma Shel Yom, the very thing that Shabbos is, Gairem Ata causes now Lafayr Liyatzreinu to be Meshabeach, to be Mefar, the Eibishter, Al Shem Kvod Malchusay, Mezgal Ata B'Yam HaShabbos Kodesh. There's a Gilui Shechina on Shabbos that doesn't exist in Chol. I don't see it. I walk into Shul Shabbos, I know the service is longer, right? But if it's a Gilui Shechina, okay, we got to work on it. It's there. Maybe, we need to clean our glasses more often, so to speak. It is there. The Gilui Shechina is there. Whether we have the antennae, whether we have the sensory receptors to chap what's going on. But the fact of the matter is, the metaphysical facts, there's a constant weather forecast. It's like death and taxes. On Shabbos, there's a bigger Gilui Shechina. Less hest upon them. Anyway, you want to be magdarid than during the week. And that evokes this effusion of praise. You see the Eibishter, how can you keep quiet? You want to talk about the godless Abayir. I mean, you hear the passion. You can't write like that. I can read it and touch it, even though I have no shaykh to these madregas. But you can't write like this unless you're living this. You understand? That's why I get to eat doesn't give in. Right? You have to give pe'er to the Eibishter, oiz v'chedva, strength and joy and ecstasy with this unbelievable outpouring of light upon us. Amnam. This is something that I have to let you know. It's not just a quantitative thing. It's not just a Shabbos. It's a bigger Gilui Shechina, the bigger Chef of Eir. I should say more Tillim. I should say more Zishbachas. That's not it. Ela'av b'divrei shvachim v'ashiras v'halaluka shayim ma'asim gan kem be'achol k'may b'yam HaShabbos. Ashrei and the 5 halalukas, the part, as Yasher, the parts of Pesukah de Zimmer, they're equivalent. On a weekday on Shabbos, mikol makam lo'yid diburecha shel Shabbos ki diburecha shel chayil. Another nuance of meaning, Chazal say. The Pashup Shat in that is you don't talk business on Shabbos. Yeah? He's saying that your Ikka Dibur, the Dibur that you were born for. You were born to pray and learn with your mouth. Right? Nefesh Adam la'amal yulad. V'adayin ani yedaya imamal malach imamal peh. Yeah? Tamaloi me nefesh amal amlalai. Ki achaf alav piyu. So it's a pasuk galas, right? We're made for amal peh. Kol Yankov. We're about the kol of tefillah and the kol of Torah. That's what we're here for, right? The dibur that you're supposed to do as a yid. It's got a qualitative difference. As ztz'l, again, it's very easy to say. It's very, very easy to read and be in awe of such a big tzaddik writing such a thing. But he's laying down the law for us, so to speak. If you say Ashrei on Shabbos the same way you say it on Wednesday, something's wrong. There's got to be a qualitative difference in Yeshiras with Zishbachas. More kavana, more ardor, more passion, bigger insight into what the words mean. You can touch it a million different ways. But andrish, different. Different than on a weekday. Umisparshin hema b'das. They separate. The weekday from the Shabbos separates through the function, the cognitive function that we call das. Now, I think our local Chabad Chassid isn't here tonight, so, if I'm saying something that, for those of you who are not aware, the acronym for Lubavitcher Chassidus Chabad stands for Chachma, Bina, and Das. I'm not so behavent in all the Tanyas and the Likutei Torahs and all the great Lubavitcher Rebbes, reams and reams of Torah about exactly what Chachma means, exactly what Bina means, exactly what Das means. But he's working with a Chazal. Das is that function of the mind that distinguishes. When you're able to separate one thing from another, when your mind is doing that, you've engaged the das. In contradistinction to the Chachma and the Bina. U'misparshen hem b'das. V'al zeh ramzu rabbeinu. In ein deya havdalah menayin. This Rishonim, very famous Rishalmi. It's an answer to the question. Lama tiknu havdalah b'chayin hadas. Why is it that Matzah Shabbos, when you say Ma'ariv, says an insert, Atachan Antanu. Atachan Antanu is a kind of Havdalah. It's without Besamim, it's out without Yayin, but it's a Nusach of Havdalah. So whereas Lama tiknu havdalah b'chayin hadas. Why is it in that bracha? Rhetorical question. Answer: Shebali das havdalah menayin. Without that cognitive function called das, you're never going to be able to separate or distinguish anything. He says an unbelievable Torah, and he takes this through the difference between Shabbos and Chayil, the difference between a Yid and a Guy, the difference between a lot of things in Kedusha. Okay, it's about like this. There's a pasuk. The pasuk is in, and it's a famous chazal. It's a chazal that Rashi brings. Pasuk is in Vayikra Chaf, pasuk Chaf Hey. And the pasuk reads Vivdalta ben Abahema Tahira Latmeya. Yeah, Fragt Rashi, according to Taras Kainim, I need to be mavdal between a parah and a chamar. That's a koyach of havdalah. Yeah, hamavdal ben parah lechamar. Yeah. But Yisrael Lamim, I understand. It's not so apparent havdalah ben Yisrael Lamim. Yeah. Take a little Yiddish ingle before Yom HaShmini. There's no physical difference between him and the Goyish kid. They're both Arelim at this point. Okay. Gemara says, Hanay de Hana min Arelim mutter bar la Yisrael. You're already not, beside Hamila. But on a physical level, there's no difference. Right? But the difference between a parah and a chamar, that's readily apparent. The Taz kind of asks, what does it mean, a behemoth tahira? A parah. What does it mean, a behemoth tmeya? A donkey. I have to be mavdal? The muvdal and the separation, the difference is clear. Clear as day. Unless you don't want to be accused in our politically correct environment of speciesism. Right? You can't discriminate by basis of species of birth. You know? But the people haven't taken leave of their senses. They know the difference between a parah and a chamar. Izakt the Torah is kind of mazay. He says, when it says that you have to be mavdal, Shabbos from the other days of the week, it doesn't mean because the other days of the week I'm driving my car and I'm riding and I'm cooking and I'm doing all the lamatas malachas and the rabbandika derivatives that I would never do on Shabbos. That's not how I'm mavdal ben kodesh l'chol. Not enough, not good enough. Not up to speed yet. Why not? I can't say that I'm mavdal ben kodesh l'chol because on Friday night I make kiddush and on Tuesday night I don't. I can't say I'm being mavdal ben kodesh l'chol because on Thursday morning I'm saying a truncated Pesukah de Zimra and on Shabbos I'm saying the full service. No, that's not enough Havdalah and Kedusha that you're ascribing to Shabbos. Why? Because if that's it, fragt sich the same kasha that the Chazal asked in Teres Kainim on this pasuk of the Havdalah ben Abahema Tmei la Abahema Torah. What's the kasha? Yiksha ola b'kushra b'seinu zal. Ein tzarech lomer ben parah l'chamar. You can't say va'avdil is to tell me the difference between a cow and a donkey. They're already separated. I mean, just to give you a beispiel in Hilchos Shabbos, parenthetically, there are poskim that hold, we all know Malachas Beirer, right? There are poskim that hold that you've got a serving platter with big slabs of meat. On the same serving platter, there's duck and there's tongue and there's turkey, and it's a mishmash, right? But it's not like a raisin and nut mishmash. It's big slabs of meat. There's no Indian of Beirer over there. You want to take the psilos off first, you can take psilos off first. They moved all around them. They're clear already. They're not fine enough to be a mishmash, so to speak. Right? Okay. So it's like this. Okay, next Amid. Everyone knows the difference between a parah and a chamar. So what does the pasuk mean? Ella ben hashaychet chetzir shel kana l'ruba shel kana. The Rashi is, when he quotes his Teres Kainim, the Rashi on that pasuk. Rashi finishes off by saying, V'hu b'mashu. The difference between a kosher shechita, where you cut through 50% of the trachea, and 50.0000001%, it's a mashu, it's a hair's breadth, it's millimeters. I don't know what the next smaller measure is after a millimeter. But rive is rive. Right doesn't have to be 51%. Etvas, a hair's breadth, over 50%, now it's kosher. Exactly at 50%, it's a nevela. Didn't have a kosher shechita. That's the havdal. That's not readily apparent. You need a good to cook. You need a piercing kind of a vision, a microscopic vision, a vision that needs enhancement from the outside. It's not something that you can naturally perceive, right? That's a function of das. To be able to look that closely, you have to be a maven. This is kosher, that's treif. That's havdalah. That's the havdalah that requires das. That's as you said. Things that are readily apparent, that's not the havdalah we're talking about. That's not the havdalah that requires das. Do we have another hand after him? Any more? Any more on any of the tables? Because there were some inside others. Okay, you're going to have to share. You have to look on with somebody. Okay. If that's what we mean, of Kedusha Shabbos and Havdalah Shabbos, Michal, is the fact that I don't do Lamites Malachas on Shabbos. No, sorry, that's not Havdalah. That's not what I need das for. Ach shetzarach Havdalas hadas. You need that das that can tell the difference between 50 and 50.001% of the kana. That's the das that you need. It's not readily apparent. You bring a Friar Yid to a Shabbosdik atmosphere. What is this? What's different? What are you selling me a bill of goods? It's Saturday. I want to read my New York Times. I want to go to my tennis match. What? Doesn't feel any different. Doesn't sound any different. Doesn't look any different. But a Yiddish cup, a Yiddish das that has some sensitivity to Kedushas Azman understands it's different. It's not Wednesday now. It's Shabbos Kodesh. There's something different about it. Faket, the malachas, that's just the symptom. That's not the siba. Simon, as the Blondam saying, not the siba. It's the Kedusha HaShabbos, Itzumah Shal Yom. That's Mechai of all these outward differences. But the difference is much more subterranean than that. It's unseen. You need Medvinus to imagish that difference. Sha'af b'dvarim sheshaven hein. Even in the things that Shabbos is equal. I eat 2 sudas on Shabbos. I eat 2 plus 1. Excuse me, 2 sudas on Chol. I eat 2 plus another one on Shabbos. But I'm eating sudas on Shabbos. It's normal for me to eat a suda at 9 Shabbos by day. And it's not just that the menu is different. It's not just the Viber are giving us a golden ringlich chicken soup, fried with a good piece of gefilte fish, and on Wednesday I eat takeout Chinese. That's not the difference either. That's also a difference like this. Even if I would eat mamish the same diet, if I eat gefilte fish and soup, okay? In Mitzvah Hashem, we're going to have a gewaltige chant in 22 minutes time. I don't have to be mavdal between 9 and 9:01, like the difference between the half the kana and then 51% of the kana, right? It's not esnish that chant the same as you're going to do it Shabbos morning, or if you cheat a little bit in Freitag Sanachs, you get some chant too. Eating it is different on Shabbos. Davening the same halalukas, the same birchas Krishma, those parts of birchas Krishma that are equivalent. The same parts of Shemana Esrei that are equivalent. The first 3 brachas, the last 3 brachas. The das tells me the das is margish. No, this is Shabbosdik. This is different. Looks the same. It's retzach the same. You speak it out the same way. You verbalize it the same way. It's different. That's what you need das for. Not just a pair of eyes. The optic nerve has to be connected to the cortex too. You need a mind too. Not just eyes to see, flesh to see. There's another Havdalah, not just we make Havdalah. The Eibishter makes Havdalah too. The Eibishter makes Havdalah ben Yisrael Amim. In other words, it says, Asher Bacha Banu Mikol Amim, or Ramatanu Mikol Shonis. Yeah? V'gam Shom Yikshe Kush Yaseinu. You can ask the same kasha the Chazal said on the animals. You can ask that same kasha here. How you do a move in lakol? Ha'avdol shebenenu v'en ha'amim. asher al pnei adam b'chol Torah mitzvos kulam. The difference between the Eibush Kaviyachol, the divine midah of das, the Eibush had to employ the divine midah of das, believe das havdal on the getlich das, without the Eibush's das, he couldn't be mavdal ben Yisrael ham. He gave us a Torah, yeah. We're mehulim, they're arelim. We grow payas aroish, they shave their heads. They only have 7 mitzvahs, we have 613 mitzvahs. We were not mishana l'shainam, shmam, malbusham, we dress differently, our names are different, our language is different. Readily apparent differences. Parenthetically, Taras HaChassidus, most Chassidish Kreisen, place a very big emphasis, more than non-Chassidish streams of Judaism, on these external trappings of Adalah. It's a very big deal to dress with a distinct Yiddish levush, and to speak Yiddish and not English, v'chahena, and to go dafka by a Yiddish name, although a lot of the Yiddish names, I mean the language of Yiddish, I don't know what makes them exactly more heilig than the American names. Okay, that's a separate question for another. But they became, that we were Megayer them. We made them Yiddish. Yeah, we made them Yisrael, Sruldik, so to speak. But here, there's a big Rebbe writing, saying that's not enough. That's not, and this is what I think Rabbi Hilzal was talking enough. It's not enough to go with a longer rekel and a longer payas. That's not the Havdalah, the divine trait of Das was Mavdal Esmanamim. It's what's not near a lion. It's what's not readily apparent, not what the eyes can pick up on, not what the eyes can see. That's where the real Havdalah, Ben Yisrael Lamim, takes place. Let's read on. How are you do? Moving like Kol, Havdal Shebeneim Ven Amim, was different from the Umas Eilim, as the cow is from the donkey. As the goat is from the camel. That's a kosher min, that's a treifim min. For that you need das to make the Havdalah. Oh, Gewalt. Now the next thing he says to me is absolutely mind-blowing. We have the difference, the readily apparent mitzvahs of our behaviors. Kol HaTorah mitzvahs kulin, right? Now listen to the next thing he says. Uvekayach nishmasenu hakadosha chelik alakayim mal. That's readily apparent. Everybody sees that, right? We all know that the Yiddish neshama is different from a Gaish neshama. Try selling this to an enlightened Jew out there, a non-frum Jew. I'm telling you that your soul is different than your Irish and Italian next door neighbor. Right? You have a higher soul than Jeremy Lin, even though he's saving the Knicks this season. You have a higher soul than him. Well, what are you, a racist? What are you talking about? You want to tell me I have a different culture? You want to tell me that we have a history of intellectualism, of hewing to a higher code of ethics? Okay, I'm proud to be a Jew. Now, first of all, I don't even know if I have a soul. Okay, I'll take your word for it, Rabbi. I have a soul. My soul is different than another soul. That sounds so racist. You're talking like a Nazi. Yeah? He says this is part of the readily apparent things. This you don't need to ask for either. All of our Torah, all of our mitzvahs, that's readily apparent. And the fact that our neshama is so much higher.
And what's this mucker for that?
What?
Does he bring a mucker that our neshama is different?
Let's read on a little bit.
He takes it as a given.
It is a given.
But does he have a mucker for that?
He has a mucker. How much of the mucker he's revealing as Makaira Hera? I don't know how much, we'll give a Hera on it. I don't know if he's going to tell us the whole thing. Let's read on a little bit. Masha'en ken b'chol u'umas sha'af machatzav nishmosan hu mibchinas chiyus haaretz. Yeah. Their neshamas have something to do with artzius, with being terrestrial, and our neshamas are more deriving directly min hashamayim. Zayah Chodesh, Breishis, Tezayin Amar Aleph. You're going to have to take his word for it, because I cannot teach and read for you a Zayah Chodesh. Okay, I'm out of my depth over there. Valkain Yikaru Ameh Ha'artzes. Okay, it's the ultimate insult to call a Yid an Amaretz. The real Amaratzim are the Goyim. Ameh Ha'artzes. Their very neshamas, their very beings, has to do with the Aretz, not with Shemayim. Shekol Chiyutzin Hu Rak M'chinas Chiyus Ha'aretz HaNishbaba. Okay, I think it also has to do with the difference between the Shem Elokim and the Shem Havaya, I think. It might be what he's alluding to. Anyway, these are different Kabbalah. I don't know what he's saying. To me, the Icarus Pilus is not, how can he make such a racist statement? I don't think it's...
So not when a Goy is Megayer gets a different neshama.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's a chiddush because we.
Why is it a chiddush? Forget.
Normally, it's
Yeah.
more than what we normally think gerus involves.
Oh, listen, I've been nashing on Chassidus for a lot of years. I can tell you that when it says hanefesh asher asu b'charan, okay, like this, you know in Hilchos Gerus, when a ger is megayer, so you call the person Ben Avram or Bas Avram and Ben or Bas Sarah, right? Because you say, well, Avram and Sarah were the Avla Gerim. They blazed the trail. They were the first Gerim. There were no Jews before Avram and Sarah, so they started Gerus, right? That's the prosaic way for understanding it. Chassidus Yisrael state, hanefesh asher asu b'charan, yeah, Avram megayer ha'anoshim v'Sarah megayeres as ha'anoshim, right? In Chassidus Yisrael it says that when Avram Avinu and Sarah Menu, when this David, all those years, before they were married the neshama of Yitzchak, they were always being married neshamas. They were all kinder from Avram and Sarah. And those are in escrow, so to speak. They're in a holding pattern somewhere. By Gerus, the ger gets one of those neshamas. So they're quite literally a Ben Avram and Sarah. Okay, I don't remember which Chassidus ever I saw it in, but I'm not making this up. I couldn't make something like that up, right?
No.
Okay, fine. So let's take his word for it. But again, different stroke. Everyone, you're entitled to your own hispilus. My ikar hispilus from what he's saying over here is not that he can make such a statement, but that he calls this the things that are readily apparent, like the difference between a shar and a chamar, or the difference between the fact that we have tayyag mitzvahs and they only have 7 mitzvahs. The qualitative difference between a Yiddish neshama and a Gayish neshama, that doesn't need das. That's readily apparent. Unbelievable. What sensitive antennae to the metaphysical world this machaber had, that they can make such a statement. Yeah. Okay. Yirtze b'veyure. What the pasuk means when it says va'avdel eschem and amim. She'ach hashizul lana kosh baruch ben yom achaz asuras lanu kama shekasuv mikaydim v'ivdaltem and ambehem atayr latameya. After the Torah gave us the whole parsha of the behemoths atmeyas, and then alluded to this concept that the havdalah ben atayr v'atameh doesn't mean between a pig and a cow. It means between 50% of the kana or 51% of the kana. Tzivanu HaKadosh Baruch Hu sha'af ba'oisa inyan sheshavim ata elu masaylam. Yeah? Even in everything that you do gayish, I can't call it gayish, in common with the rest of humanity. Kamay binyani achilu, ushtiya, v'sheina, v'shad divrei taivas ha'gufaniyas. Everything physical, everything natural that we attend to our needs, asher muchrach mat l'asam l'asik b'hem kamayim, you have to do them just as Goyim have to do them. I have to shake a lulav, a guy does not have to shake a lulav. But a guy needs X amount of calories a day and so much hydration a day to survive. Absolutely no difference, chemically or biologically, for a Jew and for a guy. Chemically and biologically not, but in the das, yeah. A Yid should eat differently and drink differently than a guy does. Yesh oidin hafrosh v'avdal shetzorach adam lifresh me'em b'das. You have to be mufresh from the das. I just want to say parenthetically before we go weiter, we have a few minutes to go on, that the Safra, in the Hagdama to the Parsha of Arayas, so the pasuk says, yeah, Kamaisa etz Mitzrayim asher shavtam b'hem leisasum, Kamaisa etz Kanaan asher atam hochem aleh leisasum, v'chukasem leisalechu. So I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember the exact lashon of the Safra, the Tarskanim, but it goes something along the lines as follows. Shema time, maybe you're going to want to say that because they dwelled in houses, I should be a nomad. Maybe you're going to want to say that because they wear clothes, I should be a nudist. Don't be goyish. Don't do what the goyim do. So no, if they had some kind of licentious law on the books, very nagay now the marriage equality bill in New York State, the examples that the Safra gives is shaya gvarim naisim gvarim, v'nashim naisim nashim, gay and lesbian marriage. That's what they have in the books. Don't legislate like them. Okay, look, Chazal, the Paiskim expanded exactly what it means. But the point I'm trying to make is, Chazal recognized that there are certain things, Ba'asher shehu as a human being, I'm a Yid, but I'm also a human being. I have a physical plant. There's certain things, I need housing, I need clothing, I need nutrition, I need communication, I need transportation. I have needs in common with all of humanity. That's where the Havdalah licked. Yeah? Not you make fun of the Puerto Ricans. Oh, look at they're wearing their trousers, halfway down their boxer shorts, and look at the crazy haircuts they're wearing, and they get drunk. That's not what the Havdalah is. The Havdalah is by the points where you have in common. That's what Havdalah is. That's what takes das. Shabbos looks like any other day of the week. Without das when you're making Kiddush, without das when you're making Havdalah, without saying your Ashrei different, without saying your Birchas Krishma, I'm not talking about Kel the rest of Krishma, different on Shabbos and on Chol, you're missing the Koyach HaDas that makes Havdalah and Kedusha. Let's go a little bit weiter. Ice base, or is this alei, not ice. Second leaf on the branch. Okay, I'm going to read and touch the Gemara. It's a beautiful Gemara, allegorical Gemara. I started reading as Chatoy Ani Masker, haven't kicked the art scroll habit 100%. Start reading, they bring a beautiful Mahalach from the Vilna Gaon. We'll read the Gemara, and together we'll try to figure out what the Ben Maim Chaim is. So I can read and touch the Gemara, but you'll tell me what you think it means. It's Unheb Perak HaMeichas Asvina, starts with 20 stories, 21 stories I think it is, of sailor stories, from travelogue, all kinds of, is it, what? Yeah, right. It all comes from Yanagad. So there's one that goes like this. I think this one's number 15. This Arab nomad said to, come, I'll show you where heaven and earth kiss. Okay, where heaven and earth meet. Okay, I'm going to show you the intersection point between heaven and earth. Shakalti lasalti, I took my breadbasket, anachte bechazve the rakia. Okay, pre-Microsoft, but the heaven was full of windows. Yeah? And I put my breadbasket, an empty breadbasket, I put it in one of the windows, in one of the heavenly windows. That's what Rabbi Bar Chana did after the Arab had showed him this place where heaven and earth meet. Then I davened, apparently he davened that he should come back and find a full breadbasket. And instead, his breadbasket was missing. Let me buy that didn't get full, the breadbasket. He couldn't find the breadbasket. So, I said to my guide, to this Arab, are there thieves in heaven? I put down my breadbasket in one of the windows of Shemayim, and I daven for a few minutes, I come back, my breadbasket is missing. So I said those. You have thieves over here? Is a high crime neighborhood? What's going on over here? Finally it said, the Arab told him like this. He says, this has nothing to do with thieves. This has to do with the turning of the celestial bodies. It was rotating. The Shemayim was rotating. Okay? Try to think of it, the carousel where you try to pick up your bags after you come back from Eretz Yisrael, right? If you miss your suitcase, my suitcase is missing. Don't be Miktane Amuna. Wait for it to come around another time. You'll see it again. Gana, if I'm filing a claim with the luggage department, you just saw it a second ago. Don't worry, it's coming around the bend. So I said to him, Natarad Lamocher, wait until tomorrow, and you'll find it. Okay, that's the Gemara. What Chaim Chernovitz wants to do with it, let's read a little bit more, but again, I invite your comments and insights over here. I'm not 100% sure what he wants, but it's obviously Razeh Torah, this interaction between Rabbi Bar Chana and the Arab, and Shemayim, and Aretz, and bread, and davening. The Dvarim Haim the Baruch Shalom are going on over here. V'sherish advarim. My take on this Chazal, what I think the Gemara is saying is like this. The root of what's going on here is Lahiris La'adam Deya Bina V'Haskal B'Chol Ma'asav, to teach a person to be mindful, all the functions of the Meichin, Deya, Bina, Haskal, everything, and everything you do. Ma'isa Gufaniyos, all of your physical actions. V'anir Nira Daima Behem L'Ma'isa Behem. The behemoth needs a bread basket too, right? The other shar Kanei Mar Avus Balav, a feed bag, a nose bag. Everyone needs to eat. Everyone needs the bread basket. Yeah? You put your bread basket in the windows of Shemayim. That's what a man does. That's what a Yid does, I should say. That's what you a human being, haroy l'shmai. Even his bread basket, as dreitzach, it turns with Shemaim. At least that's how I'm understanding it. Even in this department, even the Maisa Bahami that we have to do, there still has to be a relative advantage to being a human being. You have to find a path to Hashem and a place for Hashem. Like Dovid HaMelech said, if I will give slumber to my eyes, sleep to my eyes, to my eyelids slumber, until I find a place for Hashem. So what that means is, the Chazal says, I'm sitting here in a cedar palace, and the Aron Kodesh is in Urias. The Pashim Shah in this pasuk is, this was the desire to build the Beis HaMikdash. Zok the Siddur Shel Shabbos. Another level of meaning what Dovid HaMelech is saying is, I don't rest, I don't go to sleep, right? Until in my sleep there's a Makom L'Hashem. I gotta sleep. Every animal sleeps, I don't know about the sharks, but every animal sleeps, yeah? Every human being sleeps. You gotta sleep, you gotta recharge your batteries, yeah? But I'm not going to sleep till in my sleep there's a Makom L'Hashem. And the gufnius of sleep, there also has to be a Makom L'Hashem. If there's no Makom L'Hashem, if it's void of Getlichkeit, of godliness, I'm not going to sleep. I can't. I'm not a behemoth. I'm a Yid. I'm a Melech Al Yisrael, Liba Levav Kol Yisrael. My heart is the heart of Israel. A Cyrillic doesn't go to sleep like a guy, like a behemoth. I'm not going to sleep until in my sleep I find a Makom L'Hashem. I think that's how he's teaching it. V'chol Adam Lefi Mashu. Every person according to what he is. Somebody who has a portion in the secret, hidden part of the Torah. People who know how to link the chains, how to literally connect heaven and earth in all of their maisim, with Sefer Arizal, with the Sefer Azayah, with other Sefer Kabbalah. They know Kavanis, they know the names of angels, they know the names of the various midas of Hashem, the shtalshalos, the way things emanate from Shemayim Taretz, to reconnect them back from Eretz Shemayim. One of the reasons I want to read the shtickle is because he's talking to Rabbis and he's talking to Chassidim. This part is he's talking to Rabbis, at least in theory, anyway. The job description means divas kind of decline ISIS, the people who know how to do these kind of things. They know how to eat with the right kavanas, they know how to drink the kavanas azivik, they know how to be intimate with the right kavanas. The chol ma'aseh gufnius. Anything that they do physically, kamavar heitev b'kitzvei Arizal, like the Ari taught us. Kavanas kolach v'echa. The Arizal tells you what you'll be mechaven. Remember, kavana is sometimes mistranslated as intent. Kavana means direction. In modern day Israel, you get lost and you don't have a GPS. Be'ezeh kivun holchim. Which direction should I travel in? Kavana means, how do you direct it? What are you directing it to? Which malach, which makar, which kaviyach, which midah of Hashem? What are the conduits through which, don't get your wires crossed, so to speak. That's part of the chachmas HaKabbalah, is knowing, the exact tziniris, the exact pipelines, the exact conduits, and so on. Ukamaymer hakra, like the pasuk says, Loi seyaf echametz, chelkom nasati oisa miishay. V'amar Rabbi Zal, af chelkom loi seyaf echametz. Okay, I'm just going to, if I can have your permission, I know it's time for Cholent, and I'm already over 50% of the Veshet. Give me 3 more minutes. I'm not going to finish the third leaf. I just want to read a few lines over here. The Pashim Shah in this Ma'amar Chazal is like this. We know there's an issue in the Torah, you can't burn dvash of the parish and Shtach, it's not bee honey, date honey and stuff like that. You can't burn dvash on the Mizbeach, and you can't burn chametz on the Mizbeach. Now, certain menachos didn't come as raw flowers. Certain menachos were processed. They were boiled, they were baked, they were deep fried. Various menachos. All of those menachos had to be prepared Pesachdik. Couldn't be chametz. Why? Because you take a kaimitz from those menachos, you burn it on the Mizbeach. If they'll be chametzdik, they'll be prepared chametzdik. You're going to be over on the lav kol sar v'chol devash l'saktir menu yishuv Hashem. So long as I'll be a chacham, I'll try to design it in such a way that the part of the mincha that the kohen takes the kaimitz from, that's going to go on the mizbeach, that'll be matzah, and the rest will be chametz. The shirayim will be chametz. What the kahanim eat will be chametz. So from this drasha I learn you can't do that. Lo yisrav chametz. They shouldn't be baked at all chametz. Chelkam nasati oisam ishai. The chelet the kahanim are coming is also like leftovers from my burnt offerings, from the part that goes on the mizbeach. V'amar Rabbi says, av chelkam lo yisrav chametz. Because, as it were, they're getting shirayim from the Mizbeach, so it has to have the same gather of the Mizbeach. That's a Pashup shot in this drasha. Zogt Chaim Chernovitz, of Ani Yasaf to be the Vrayim, Ulafarish Liyas Tevis Chelkam, Koi Gam Al Shalamata. Chelkam goes back reflexively on the Leah Safek Chametz, but it goes on the end of the Pasuk too. V'amar Kosav, like Chelkam Nasati Oisam Yishai, Kleimer Av Chelkam. Even the Chelik that belongs to the Kahanim. I need it for my nutrition. I need it for my body. Yeah? The physical needs that I give, I understand the physical plant of man. The Eibishter is generous. I give man what he needs. I recognize his animal and his human limitations. What they need for their bodies, it still all comes from the Eish Kodesh, from the Eish Hashem. The Eish that was consuming, the all-consuming fire on the head of Har Sinai. V'chol divrei agashmius hakol netzolim v'nifroshim midvarim al yonim. They all come down from dvarim al yonim. Okay, now I've overspoken my say. Let's try to eat the chol tonight. It's a little bit different than we did before. We knew that this is the Rishon Shabbos, and certainly the way we're going to eat chol on Shabbos should be different. A good Shabbos. Can we continue with this one next week?
Yeah.
It's okay? All right.
You did Truma. This is not Yisro.
Okay, so the tie-ins were as follows. The tie-ins were Aleph Stam Shmir Shabbos, because that's Aseres Adibros this week.
All right.
And the other thing was that the Yom HaMiyuchas, it's called, yeah, when it says V'atam Tiyali Mamlachas Kainim V'Gai Kaddish, that's reiterated in Sefer Vayikra V'avd Leschem and Am Liyasli. The concept that the prerequisite for Matan Torah, for Kabbalah Torah, is the sense of Jewish specialness, otherness, chosenness, however you want to be magdarit. And since that's his whole topic, that's why I took it. Now we didn't get that far, but on the back page he also talks about the mun, which was a segue from last week's parsha. Okay, so all right, common agreement. We can do this next week. This is the Sidur Shel Shabbos, which is by the same author of maybe you heard his more famous work, Ber Mayim Chaim.